So first, I'm going to talk about the fundamental rights. The topic is fundamental rights. First, we'll brief you about the objective of this lecture. Why? What will you learn from this? Okay. Uh, the most striking difference between the Government of India Act 1935 and the present Constitution is the presence of fundamental rights in the letter, the Constitution which we prepared. The chapter of the Constitution has been described as Magna Carta of India. Why Magna Carta of India? Why not Magna Carta? Because the fundamental rights are named as Magna Carta in Britain. So, part 3 of the Constitution is called the Cornerstone of the Constitution, and together with part 4, Directive Principles of a State Policy, constitutes the conscience of the Constitution. Fundamental rights were deemed essential to protect the rights and liberties of the people against the encroachment of the power delegated by them to their government. Fundamental rights for Indians have also been aimed at overturning the inequalities of pre-independence and social practices. Uh, it will help to grasp the essence of fundamental rights in India. This will help you to understand the essence, the real meaning of the fundamental rights in India and its importance. And the second thing, it is important to know how the fundamental rights act as limitations upon all the powers of the government, legislative, and as well as executive. So, fundamental rights is putting certain kind of the restriction on the government, legislative, and executive. And this lecture will guide you regarding the basic characteristic fundamental rights in India. Okay, so all these things you will come to know in this lecture. So this lecture is more than mere coverage of academic trust area. It is rather a session for all the citizens of India because all the citizens must have basic awareness about their rights because rights are the pillar of any matured democracy. So, without rights, you cannot think for the democracy. Rights are the pillar of the mature democracy. The preamble to the Constitution of India establishes that in India, democracy emphasizes on rights and dignified existence of people. So it is our duty to enrich our legal resources and know our rights. Fundamental rights in India has been ensured by Part 3 of the Constitution. Indian Constitution has guaranteed some legal, some fundamental rights to each citizen. So each and every person are entitled for the fundamental rights. Even the resident that is who are not the citizens of India. Even those who are the resident of India but not the citizen of India are given certain basic rights, right, like right to equality, right to worship, etc. We'll talk about details in upcoming lecture. And in an elaborate list of fundamental rights has been incorporated in the part 3 of the constitution. Part 3 of the constitution is like a charter of rights contained in the constitution of India. So, do you have any idea what is it guarantees? Basically, this part 3 of the Constitution is like a charter of rights contained in the Constitution of India. So now the question comes, what it guarantees? ये क्या guarantee कर रहा है? So this it guarantees civil liberties. This is it guarantees what? Civil liberties in such a way that all Indians who can lead their lives in who can lead their life in peace and harmony as a citizen of India. So this part 3 is guaranteeing civil liberties in such a way that all the Indians can lead their lives in peace and harmony as a citizen of India. So now the question comes, what is fundamental rights? Any idea?
So the rights that is given to every citizen of the country.
The right that is given to every citizen of the country. Which kind of the right? Why only? Why all the rights are not fundamental rights?
So the basic rights that is given to the citizens.
Okay. Anyone else? Tanmay.
Sir, it is a kind of right which talks about intellectual, moral, and spiritual development of citizens of India.
Yes. तन्मय, आपकी पार्टी की तरफ से कोई आंसर? तन्मय.
Sir, can I
Okay.
say something?
Yes,
Sir,
yes.
sir, like I was preparing for CLAT, and on that time I also studied about this fundamental rights. So from that information, I'm saying that this includes individual rights common to most, such as equality before the law, freedom of speech, of expression, religious and cultural freedom, freedom freedom of
Yes.
assembly, peaceful assembly, freedom of religion, freedom to practice religion, right to constitutional remedies for the protection of civil rights, means of writs. Like, of course, we will study about writs. That writs is habeas corpus, mandamus, right, writs of prohibition,
Yes.
certiorari, and quo warranto. Like, sir, when I was preparing for CLAT,
Yes,
on the time I
yes.
studied this
You are
all.
right. You are right. You are right.
Sir, it talks about development of individual, like Article 12 to 35 in our
Okay.
Constitution
Okay.
of India.
Okay. You must have seen that message in the group regarding the internship. Why are you not applying for that?
Before this, I didn't know about it. Today, I knew about it, and I don't know
Today,
how to do. And
she shared it the yesterday night around
so
9 10 o'clock.
yesterday, I didn't open my phone. I didn't see
So you
that.
must be
So
aware. Okay, if you are interested, still you can send the CV. Okay,
okay, sir. Sure, sir.
because I will channelize the process after 12:30. Okay, so you can do.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay.
So now the question comes: what is fundamental rights as said by Rahatul and this Krishanti? The is absolutely right, and I will explain it to you, and you can see on the screen as well. The rights which are considered essential for the development of the personality of every individual, even which is stated by Krishangi as well. Uh, the right which are considered essential for the development of personality of every individual and protection of human dignity are known as fundamental rights, which is going to help to develop each and every individual to their personality, which is helping them to develop themselves and protect their human dignity. That is the fundamental rights. So, these rights are essential for the development of individual self for every citizen of India. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. On the basis of above definition, whatever I told you now, till on the basis of the definition which I told you now, so we can see. So what we can see? Do you have any idea? Whatever the definition I told you, on that basis, we can say what? We can say that fundamental rights protect citizens against any sort of arbitrary or exercise of power. So we can say that fundamental rights protect citizens against any sort of arbitrary or exercise of power by the state. Fundamental rights help upholding these basic rights. Fundamental rights help upholding these basic human rights, which are absolutely necessary for the development of the personality of the people, which is very essence and basic for the development of an individual personality. Without this, without freedom, you cannot develop. I have given you the enough number of the example when I was teaching the right and the liberty to you in the last semester. Fundamental rights as enumerated in part 3 of the Indian Constitution, uh, focus on the need for assuring fundamental unity of the nation by guaranteeing the access and the use of same facilities and the rights to all the citizens, irrespective or whether of their caste, creed, religion, sex, or any sort of discrimination. So now there is a specific feature of the Indian Constitution as visible in its part 3. The Constitution guarantees the rights of the individual against the state as well as any private individual. So even your fundamental rights, by this provision, the Constitution is guaranteeing the rights of individual against the state. Even a state cannot take away your rights as well as any private individual. That is, neither the state nor any individual shall have the right to violate the rights of others. These rights are available to the residents as well as non-residents of India, and some rights there which are available to the residents of India which are not even the citizen of the country. The Constitution also guarantees the rights of minorities against the majority. Though democracy is a rule of majority power, still Indian Constitution guarantees the rule of the minorities, which is a very unique feature of our Constitution. Before moving on to in details about the fundamental rights, I want to give you a little bit glimpse of the DPSP, Directive Principles of a State Policy. And the Indian Constitution has guaranteed some legal and some fundamental rights to the citizen. You keep in the mind two things: the legal and fundamental rights. Certain other social economic rights are there which are enumerated in part 4 of the constitution, social and economic rights, and that are enumerated or mentioned in the part 4 of the constitution, that is in the chapter covering the directive principles. We'll talk about details after once I will complete the fundamental rights. What is the difference between part 3 of the constitution and part 4 of the constitution? Can you tell me? Part 3 deals with the fundamental rights and part 4 deals with what? Can anyone tell me? Yes, Lodena?
Sir,
DPSP.
DPSP talks about the state should keep in mind while formulating policies and enacting laws. Okay, sir. And fundamental
Yes.
rights is like to develop any individuals, like for the development of any individuals or citizens. Well, of course, there is a difference between these two. Like this, we
Okay.
can say.
Okay. All right. We'll tell you more as well. Yes, Lodena, I'm not audible to you. I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ludina may be having some mic problem from your side, so you can just unplug your earplug and head or headphone, and then you can. Am I audible to you now, Ludina? Okay, Rahatul, you were saying something.
So I said that only, that part 4 deals with the directive principle of state policy.
If I will ask the differentiate the fundamental rights and DPSP in one word, one word, can you say, or in one line?
So like fundamental rights is given to every citizen of the country, but DPSP is not.
This is long explanation. I want one word.
Sir, one
Uh,
word how? DPSP is only a word.
it's there. It's
Sir,
there. You do not worry.
Sir, can I say something?
Yes.
Like there is also one difference that fundamental rights comes in the Indian Constitution
This is not
from
one
Article
word.
12 to
It's
35,
spoken one word.
and
Okay.
hello,
Yes. Krishangi.
and DPSP comes Article 36 to
This
51.
is
That
very
this is
long.
also
This
one.
is yes. This is one, but this
Okay,
is very long. I want one
okay, sir.
word.
Okay,
आपने बहुत सारे
okay.
words बोल दिए. Anyone else? Ankit Raj, Lalam Kimi.
Sir, DPSP is the part third of the Indian Constitution. Sorry, part 4 of the Indian Constitution, and
It's too
fundamental
long.
rights is.
इतना word नहीं बोल. Just two words.
Oh, sir.
It's too
Okay,
much.
okay, sir.
You keep silence. Okay. Ankit Raj, Suryavanshi, Ayan, unmute and speak. ये सारे गायब हैं क्या ज्वाइन कर करके?
So will you please repeat the question?
You have to differentiate between fundamental rights and DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy, in just one or two words.
So directive principles are for the welfare.
Directive Principles are the welfare. 5 words.
Yes. Guidelines.
It's 5 words.
No, I am saying guidelines, sir.
5
Guidelines.
वो सब ठीक है, लेकिन how will you differentiate fundamental right and DPSP? ये तो आपने बोल दिया guideline.
Justiciable and non-justiciable.
Yes, this is the correct answer. Fundamental rights are justiciable and directive principles are non-justiciable. अब आप ये बता सकते हैं कि justiciable से what do you mean by the word justiciable and non-justiciable?
So we can go to court of law if any fundamental right is violated, then we can
violated.
directly go to Supreme Court, sir.
Yes, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? लेकिन अपने पार्टी का प्रचार ज्यादा मत कीजिए
Oh,
पब्लिक
sorry,
फोरम पे.
sir. I will never repeat it, sir.
नेवर और एवर तभी बोलना जब उसको मीन करो.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir.
और okay. So as the answer given by Tanmay, what is the I asked what is the difference between part 3 of the constitution and part 4 of the constitution. So already stated by him, fundamental rights, just justiciable and non-justiciable is the answer. The part 3 of the constitution enumerates certain rights which are justiciable. That is, any citizen, even in certain cases, the resident of India can move to the court of law against any sort of violation or infringement of his or her rights. Part 4 is a non-justiciable part. That is, it is enumeration of certain directives to the state. That is, the government for ensuring certain social and economic rights of the people. Some fundamental rights are meant for all the residents of India, whereas others are only available to the citizens of India. Let us, Indian Constitution has guaranteed certain legal and political rights. Let us give you some example for that. Right to life and liberty is available to all the people. So is right to the freedom of religion. And on the other hand, the freedom of speech, expression, freedom to decide and resettle in any part of the country are reserved to the citizens alone, only Indian citizens. Thus, including non-resident Indians and not merely the residents who are not the citizens of India. The equality in the matter of public employment cannot be conferred to overseas citizen of India, and the framers of the constitution regarded that civil liberties are the main pillar of democracy, which must be duly recognized and protected by the state. The development of constitutionally guaranteed fundamental human rights in India, which inspired by certain other enumerations, which be adopted from some foreign constitutions. English Bill of Rights, which was adopted in 1689, and following the Glorious Revolution, the United States Bill of Rights, which was approved on 17 September 1787 and finally ratified on December 1791. It's 15th December 1791. And France Declaration on Rights of Man, which was created during the French Revolution of 1789. And it was further ratified on 26 August 1789. Apart from this, the British educational system had profound impact on the evolution of the chapter of fundamental rights. British educational system exposed Indian students to the ideas of democracy, human rights, parliamentary democracy, etc., especially Jeremy Bentham, James Mill, and more prominent John Stuart Mill ideas on liberty and such other concepts had profound impact on the thoughts and the ideas on the educated Indians. And these educated Indians later on were the constituent part of the Constituent Assembly of India, which actually drafted the Constitution of India. So now I will move on to the making of fundamental rights. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any question?
Sir, what were the rights taken away during the emergency?
अभी वो सब थोड़ा दूर है. अभी पहले fundamental rights कैसे बना वो जानिए. We will come to that. The lectures are in the process. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So we'll brief you about the making of the fundamental rights. In 1931, the Indian National Congress, which was the largest Indian political party at the time, adopted resolution committed itself to the defense of fundamental civil liberties as well as socio-economic rights of the people, such as the minimum wage, abolition of untouchability, and freedom of religion, etc. The Constituent Assembly first met on 9th December 1946, and while the members of the Congress composed a large majority, Congress leaders actually nominated persons from the diverse socio-economic groups. There were representations from various religious communities as well as various social and economic sections of India, and the chapter or the part 3 of fundamental rights was designed to cover the needs of the people of all these sections of the Indian population. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar became the chairperson of the drafting committee. Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, they became the chairperson of several other subcommittees, and they were all eager to make our constitution as a truly representative unit, entity of the Indian people. Therefore, Indian constitution tried to represent well of all the minority sections of the community as well as the majority. In the meantime, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on 10th December 1948, UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on 10th December 1948. And they called upon all the member states to adopt these rights in their respective constitutions. In India, the fundamental rights were included in the first draft constitution prepared in the month of February 1948, and finally they were adopted as a part of the constitution on 26th November 1949. So this included individual rights common to most of the liberal democratic countries of the world. So far as the debates in the Constituent Assembly are concerned, it can be said that the debate on fundamental rights took a major portion of the time in these debates. We'll highlight certain basic features or the attributes of the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights is essential for the development of personality of every individual and protection of human dignity. The fundamental rights were included in the Constitution because they were meant to protect the every spirit of democracy. So then the question comes, what is democracy? Can you tell me what is democracy?
It's a rule by the people.
Anything else? उसके आगे by the people के आगे भी तो कुछ है.
By
Through
the
their
people, for the
representatives.
people.
For the people के आगे
Through their
Chosen by them.
representatives.
To the people.
are you sure? Anyone else?
Sir, a system
Vishangi?
in which the government of a country is elected by the people.
It's all right.
Sir, your voice is cracking. I don't know why. I'm not able.
Is it audible to everyone?
Sir, I didn't hear. Can you repeat?
Yes, sir.
By the people.
Can you repeat?
Okay. What is democracy? I asked this, then Rahatul said democracy is a rule by the people. Then I asked what next? Then someone said for the people. Then I asked what's ahead to that? Okay. Democracy is a rule by the people, for the people, and of the people. Is it clear? By the
Yes.
people, for the people, of the people. So the people must be aware of their rights and dignity. Unless the people are given adequate rights, state cannot ask them to perform their duties towards the government, towards the nation. So if you are enjoying the fundamental rights, you are entitled for the fundamental rights, so you must obey the duties. So these fundamental rights are obviously indispensable part of the democracy, which are to be duly recognized and protected by the state. So the fundamental rights primarily protect the individuals from the state and obviously from any arbitrary actions taken by the government, as well as any sort of infringement or violation of any part, violation on part of any private individual. For instance, the Constitution abolishes untouchability and also prohibits beggary. Do you know what is beggary? बेगार जानते हैं? Ludina, I'm audible to you.
Yes,
Sir,
sir. Forced labor is
Okay, all right. Anyone else?
sir, it's a kind of poverty.
Begar. Okay. It's a kind of unpaid labor. आपसे काम कराया जाएगा लेकिन आपको रिटर्न में कुछ नहीं दिया जाएगा. That is begar. पहले it was very much prevalent at the time of the landlordism and the colonial rule. The poor peoples were called to work at the house or in the farms of the landlords, and they were not giving even a single penny for that work. These provisions act as a check both of the state action as well as action of private individuals. However, these rights are not absolute. These rights are not uncontrolled. They are the subject to reasonable restriction as necessary for the protection of general welfare of the nation. They can also be severely or selectively curtailed as the time and occasion permits. Fundamental rights. We'll talk about that and their different aspects. So, the different aspects, as you know, the fundamental rights can only be altered by a constitutional amendment. And their inclusion is a check not only on the arbitrary decision of the executive branch of the government, but also on the parliament and also on the state legislature. The fundamental rights are defined as basic human freedoms, which are necessary for a proper and harmonious development of personality. So, we'll look back. What did Aristotle say? Do you have any idea? Already I taught you
About
what?
so about what?
Fundamental rights. I taught you in the paper of the political theory. Aristotle said that it is necessary to be a good person. You can note it down, it will help you to write the answer in a better way. Aristotle said that it is necessary to be a good person. But every good person can never be a good citizen. हो सकता है कि आप बहुत अच्छे इंसान हैं, लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप इसका मतलब ये भी नहीं है कि हर एक अच्छा इंसान जो है वो एक अच्छा सिटीजन होगा. This is not guaranteeing that every good person is a good citizen. Then what is the definition? Yes, say.
Please repeat this, what he said.
I raised the question, what did Aristotle say about this? I told you a statement. The fundamental rights are defined as basic human freedom. It is the basic human freedom which are necessary for a proper and harmonious development of personality. So I asked, what did Aristotle say about this fundamental right? So Aristotle said that it is necessary to be a good person. ये तो जरूरी है कि आप एक अच्छे व्यक्ति हो. But every good person can never be a good citizen. एरिस्टोटल कहते हैं कि हर एक अच्छा आदमी कोई जरूरी नहीं है कि वो एक अच्छा सिटीजन भी हो. Then what is the definition of a good citizen? अब सवाल ये उठता है कि good citizen का definition क्या है? How can you define कि he is a good citizen or not? So the citizen is the one who is aware of his rights. वो सिटीजन जो अपने राइट्स के बारे में जानता हो, who can make his government accountable to perform his duties properly. हो सकता है कि आप अच्छे व्यक्ति हैं, आपको पता है कि वोट देना चाहिए, लेकिन आप उस राइट का इस्तेमाल ही नहीं करते हैं, तो यू आर नॉट अ गुड सिटीजन. विल यू एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड माय पॉइंट?
Yes, sir.
A good
Yes, sir.
citizen can, आप हो सकता है कि you can be a good person, but it doesn't guarantee कि you are also a good citizen. Why? Then how can you say and how can you define the idea of the good citizen? तो good citizen वो है जिसके पास उसके rights के बारे में जानकारी है, उसे पता है कि हमारे अधिकार क्या क्या है, हमारे rights क्या हैं. अब यहाँ लोगों को पता ही नहीं है कि if your fundamental rights are violated, you can approach to the court. And what all are your rights? If you are not knowing, then of course then you are not a good citizen. एक अच्छे नागरिक होने के नाते आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि आपके राइट्स क्या हैं. सो सिटीजन इज द वन, सिर्फ इतना ही नहीं कि आपको पता होना चाहिए. अ सिटीजन इज वन who is aware of his rights, who can make his government accountable to perform his duties properly, and he is also making the government accountable to perform his duties properly. And how you will make the government accountable? By giving the legitimacy to them. And how you are giving the legitimacy to the government? By electing the government, by using your right to vote. And if you are not using and not voting, then of course you are not a good citizen. And that is the essence where the importance of this this whole lecture lies, and the fundamental rights lies. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Before moving on to article, I will still need to say a lot. We'll take another 5 minutes. Fundamental rights are enforceable in the court of law. अगर आपका कोई enforceable से मतलब है कि अगर आपका कोई fundamental rights जो है, अगर उसको आप courts में आपको उसको enforceable है, how? That is the part 3 of the constitution is justiciable. अगर कोई आपके rights को violate करता है तो आप क्या करें? आपको पता होना चाहिए. Any sort of violation of fundamental rights can be addressed by the court. अगर किसी भी तरीके से आपके fundamental rights का violation होता है तो उसको आप कोर्ट में एड्रेस कर सकते हैं. And there is specifically one fundamental right which is known as right to constitutional remedies. इन सारे fundamental rights में एक fundamental right ऐसा भी है जो कि जाना जाता है right to constitutional remedy के नाम से, which is covered by article 32 of the constitution, जो कि article 32 के अंदर covered है. And even article 32 is known as the right to constitutional remedies. It has been said that if there is any sort of violation of our fundamental right, we can move to Supreme Court for the enforcement of the fundamental rights. अगर आपके किसी भी फंडामेंटल राइट्स का वायलेशन होता है, अगर कोई उसको वायलेट करता है आपके फंडामेंटल राइट्स को, तो आप आर्टिकल 32 के तहत जो प्रोविजन मेंशन्ड है, आप सीधा सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जा सकते हैं. यू डू नॉट नीड टू गो टू द लोअर कोर्ट, जो एक प्रॉपर चैनल है जुडिशियरी का कि आप पहले सबऑर्डिनेट कोर्ट, डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट, हाई कोर्ट होते हुए आप सुप्रीम कोर्ट को जाएंगे. इस मामले में आप सीधा सुप्रीम कोर्ट जा सकते हैं. क्लियर? और उसके साथ साथ वेट उसके साथ साथ there is another provision by the same article 32, that is article 226, which is by using this article 226 one can move to high court of a state. अगर आपके फंडामेंटल राइट का वायलेशन होता है तो आप सीधा सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी अपील कर सकते हैं अपने फंडामेंटल राइट्स के वायलेशन को लेके. और आप कैसे कर सकते हैं? ये प्रोविजन हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के आर्टिकल 226, आर्टिकल 226 में मेंशन है. एंड इफ ही फील्स दैट हिज और हर राइट्स आर वायलेटेड within the jurisdiction of that concerned state, then you can approach to the High Court. Is it clear? Yes, someone was saying something. कौन है? Yes, someone was saying something.
So it was
So they
Prince.
were
I was saying I didn't understand, but it's okay now.
Okay, it's clear. Okay, Prince. Any question?
Sir,
Yes,
from Article 226, we can approach to the High Court, and
directly.
from Article directly, yes, sir. And
Yes,
of course, we can approach to the Supreme Court, no, sir?
yes. By the provision of Article 32.
Okay,
This has
32.
written
Okay,
in the
okay.
Article 32, and you can, and if his or her, okay, understood, rights are violated within the jurisdiction of that concerned state, only you can refer to the that high court. Is it clear? अब वो मैटर उस हाई कोर्ट के दायरे से बाहर होगा तो वो हाई कोर्ट कैसे उस पे एक्शन लेगी? That
Okay, sir.
jurisdiction must be in the concerned high state where you are filing. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Another thing,
Sir,
yes, Krishangi.
Sir, we
बोलिए.
can go to the Supreme Court directly without going High Court. Can we go, like, if our fundamental rights got violated? Can we?
What? Can you repeat?
Sir, can we go to the Supreme Court directly without going High Court?
Yes, of
Like,
course. I told you. You can go by the provision of Article 32. This is your freedom. Where do you want to go?
okay. Supreme Court will not say, no, sir, that why you
No.
didn't go High Court and why you
No.
come here directly. Okay.
This is a provision. This is the provision. I told you, no? In other matters, you cannot go, but in this case, you can go. Clear?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Another thing we must remember that both the Supreme Court and High Court can issue writs. दोनों ही writs को issue कर सकते हैं. There are 5 writs which shall be discussed later on, not now, when I will explain the articles one by one. There are 5 writs you must know: habeas corpus, mandamus, quo warranto, prohibition, and certiorari. These writs are applied by the Supreme Court as well as the High Court. For what? For enforcement of these fundamental rights. Is it clear? So after this, we will continue this lecture. The second lecture of this part, the first part of the fundamental right. In that, we will talk about the articles and in the brief, like the article 14 to 18 and all those things. And one more lecture on this introductory lecture of the fundamental rights. And then we'll talk about the different articles one by one. Clear?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.